The following program is intended for mature audiences.
TBS, America's #1 independent television network, presents the following sports exclusive.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg,
Mike.
and you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
The absolute worst!
Okay, folks, welcome back to part 2 of the 5th annual Basically a Sports Show, Ask Us Anything edition.
The dude.
Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. We resume questioning with a question from one of our longtime listeners, one of our biggest fans, WildWing64, another one of our British listeners. And he says, if you could rebrand any one Big Four team that isn't one of your favorites, what would you do with them? That's a pretty good question.
Well, let's see.
Now, are we talking total rebrand where you get rid of the name and everything, or?
I assume any changes on the table.
Okay.
I
Makes it
think
easier.
the Charlotte Hornets should be the Charlotte Bobcats, and
They need to own their legacy of failure. They don't get to pretend to be a mildly successful team.
wear the transparent side panels, you cowards.
That you promised us those many years ago.
The innovation of uniform design.
What did that
Not-
end
not-
up being?
not-
What did that end up being? Like a backwards V-neck or something?
For them,
I couldn't
Yeah.
tell you.
I don't think they ended up doing anything with it. I think they just made they just put the racing flag on the sides.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll get to my answer in a second, but I think if we get out of this question without someone adding LED lights to a uniform, we have failed in our jobs.
I'm not putting LED lights on anything.
Somebody has to, because that's the next step, and we all know it. We all know it.
Mine is pretty. I was actually going to take Zach's, but he beat me to it. I would say that my backup is I'm going to be a bit boring here. The Tennessee Titans should just go back to being the Tennessee Oilers.
Wow.
None of this franchise swapping. Oh, the Texans should be – no, the Texans are the Texans. If we can have Lakers in L.A., we can have Oilers in Tennessee, and they can be the Tennessee Oilers. They can stop looking like discount Argonauts, and the world would be better.
Lest we forget, too, gentlemen, that Jed Clampett struck oil in, you guessed it, Tennessee.
There you go.
And the Beverly Hillbillies were born.
Indeed.
So it's
Also,
not completely off the charts there with the name Oilers.
Also, we need the original AFL names back, and the Titans are the only holdouts to that. Everyone else still has their name, but
yeah, that's true, isn't it?
Yeah. So we need the Tennessee Titans to get the Oilers to become the Oilers. And
Technically, the Jets are the Titans, but
oh yeah, that's true. But
we want to be technical.
But they became the Jets well within their AFL tenure.
No, I get you.
Yeah. Greg?
I'm going to make it really simple. I'm sure this is probably not in the spirit of the question, but there's a couple I would do. I would take the Dolphins and put them in their whatever year the throwbacks are, both the white and the aqua version.
Oh, they look so good.
I would fix the Buccaneers somehow. Maybe go back to the prior set. I don't know
if anything else they've worn is better.
Right, and I would fix the Chargers. I would put the Chargers in, again, literally any other set they were before the current set.
See, I think the Chargers and the Bucks are similar in that they're both currently in their worst looks, and anything prior to it would be an improvement.
Oh, go ahead. I got another one when you're done.
Said, I just want to add that I think that the Bucks would be in more dire need of a change, because I think the current Bucks uniforms are far worse than the current Chargers uniforms.
Absolutely, without question. And another one I would do is I would rebrand the Seattle Mariners back to the original Major League team they had and make them the Seattle Pilots again. Just because I think that was a cool look. I liked the uniforms that they wore. The Mariners just wore Pilots throwbacks a week or two ago, and they look fantastic. So I'd do that, too. But Yeah, you sort of us on a rebranding idea, and we could be here for 3 hours. So probably want to get a couple in and move along.
Yeah, I mean, the other ones that stick out to me, Vegas Golden Knights. Just be the Las Vegas Knights and be done with it.
Yeah.
And really, I would get rid of the slate gray with them too. I don't like the Pacific Division is a very dark and dreary division in many ways. A lot of teams that wear black for no reason. And then when it comes to NHL names, there just has to be something better than Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, I agree.
The logo is great, and they made something out of literally nothing, like a broad concept. But Wild just is not a professional.
How about
it's not a team name. I wouldn't even count that as like a minor league name. It's just what is that? Where did that come from? I don't get it.
Minnesota, I don't know. You could probably do Grizzlies or something like that, and you wouldn't even have to change the logo, honestly.
You could Grizzlies. You could. I mean, I guess they're not going to do Badgers because of the college thing, but like you could Wolves, regular Wolves would have worked. I mean, they already had Timberwolves at the time, so that's tough. But I don't know, like something other than Wild, like.
Yeah, because they've got a great color scheme, a great logo, and a remarkably stupid name.
Yeah.
Simple as that. It's
literally, if you just change the name to something specific, just call them the Minnesota Bears.
Yeah.
Well,
Minnesota.
The Viking fans wouldn't want that either, I guess.
Minnesota Kodiaks.
There you go.
It's a type of bear.
Yeah, Kodiak bear. There you go. I don't know if there are Kodiak bears in Minnesota, but why not?
I mean, there are it seems like there would be. I don't know the range of them.
I'll call them Minnesota forest creatures, and that's better.
Or you could name them after a tree, for Pete's sake. I don't know, the sequoias. I don't know if they have sequoia trees in Minnesota either, but, you get the idea.
Oh, apparently they're only in Alaska. Huh.
Kodiaks?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably sounds about right.
Sense.
I don't. One last one. I just want to ask you guys this. I don't know that I wouldn't change the name Blue Jackets and name them something else.
I like it.
It rolls nice and all that. But it works now, but I don't know that I liked it at first.
Well, at first they were really confused, and they had the stupid like neon green B and the stupid ribbon logo, and you really weren't sure what it was supposed to mean.
Right. Well, that was part of the problem, is that it was something extremely specific, so people didn't know what it was. And they said, well, it sounds like Yellow Jacket, so it's a bug.
I know.
It's also not.
I've got a few other ones I would do, too. Here's one I would do for sure, without question. The Washington Wizards would go back to being the Washington Bullets, and they would wear the Wes Unseld, Elvin Hayes-era uniforms. Yeah. And the Nets were getting rid of the black and white and bringing back the Dr. J ABA jerseys and uniforms. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, we could go on and on and on with this. We should probably move on to something else, or we'll be here for an hour.
Would you still call those Nets Brooklyn, or would you just change it back to New York?
I would like New York, but, I can live with Brooklyn.
They're never going back. There's, too much cachet in the Brooklyn brand. They're going to...
Yeah, but as long as the uniforms look cool, I don't care what the city is they put in front of them. All right, let's move along. These come from the Facebook page. I've got an individual question for each of you and a group question all of you can chime in on, all right? Zach, this one goes to you. While you clearly have the Rams as your favorite NFL team, do you still consider the Colts your number 2 team?
I did. And well, look, I still have a lot of affection for Andrew Luck because he was, when they were still my main team, he was the guy taking over for Peyton Manning, my favorite football player of all time. He was supposed to be the guy that led this team to the playoffs, and he's kind of been jerked around in so many different ways that I feel for guys like that. I still have a connection to Andrew Luck, but the team, I mean, I pay attention. I keep track of them. I wouldn't say I have a second favorite team anymore. They're just, the Colts might be at the top of the list of those other teams I like to see do well, but they're not my I don't follow them in the same way that you could count like a number 2 team. So
being someone else that made a switch of team allegiances, I switched from the Rangers to the Blue Jackets. And I can honestly say that I don't know how long I've been a Blue Jackets fan now. It's, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it's been. And to be completely honest about it, I don't really give a thought one way or the other to the Rangers anymore. I just don't. I can't say they're like my second favorite team. I don't really even think about them. It's just the Blue Jackets. I don't know if it's because they're a hometown team and you're just more invested in that naturally. But yeah, I can. So no.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Is like as time goes on, I become less and less connected because kind of like the same way that I still root for Andrew Luck. Like there's less and less guys that were on the team when I was paying attention. Mm-hmm. So it's like I have less and less of a connection to them because I don't know these guys. I don't care about these guys. I don't know their story. I don't know their deal. Except for Andrew Luck. Yeah. And I want him to do very well, but it's all Rams now,
Yeah, I think that, with the Blue Jackets and with the Rams, when it's your team from your area, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
I was going to say, we all know Zach's second favorite team are the LA Chargers.
No, of course. Absolutely.
The hometown.
What?
Your tenant.
Your tenant.
Oh, yeah. I don't give my tenant too much mind as long as the check comes in on time.
All right. This one's for me. Greg, if you met the 13-year-old version of yourself, what's the first thing about sports nowadays you'd tell him about? 13. What year would that have been? Okay. Oh, I know. You're not going to believe what this really cool Oakland A's team that everybody likes is going to do to baseball in 30 years. You're not going to believe it. They're going to absolutely ruin baseball.
They're going to ruin baseball and not even have the decency to win a championship.
And not even win anything in the process. Exactly. That's one thing I would say for sure. Another thing
would you tell them about the Cavs winning a championship? Were the Cavs even a thing when you were 13?
No, I don't believe they were. I don't remember what year they came into the league. No, they came in 70. Yes, so they were around when I was 13.
Yeah, 1970.
I would say you're not going to believe this, but the Browns are actually going to leave town, and then they're going to come back, but it's not going to really be them.
And it's going to be like the worst fucking thing.
Yeah. I would also say, because you got to remember how big this guy was at the time we're talking about here. You're not going to believe what happens to O.J. Simpson. That's going to blow your mind.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, that is going to absolutely floor you because that's just I don't know really what I'd say because it's hard because sports has been a fluid thing throughout my whole life. So it doesn't feel like there's been any drastic changes from when I was 13 to now because I've been there for all of it. It's not like I'm going back to how can I describe this where I left it for a while and came back and, this is what happened. But yeah, the first thing I would say is the A's are going to ruin baseball. And baseball is not going to be, you're not going to recognize baseball by the time you reach the year 2019. You're not going to know what it is compared to what it's being played like now. Games take 4 and 5 hours now, which is unbelievable and all that. That's probably the first thing I would say, yeah. So there you go.
And just completely give up on watching a Yankees-Red Sox game. Because
right.
God damn. You're going to be there for 5 goddamn
hours. The last thing I'd say is, once you hate the Red Sox now, it's going to get even worse. Even worse.
You're gonna be kind of okay with them for like a year. Yeah. And then they're going to flush that goodwill right down the toilet.
Right. But yeah, I think the biggest thing I would say is that baseball, as you know it, as a 13-year-old, is going to be almost unrecognizable by the time you get to be in the year 2019, which would be, 58?
Did either of you guys see any bit of the Yankees-Red Sox over in London?
No, I just heard about it like it was a softball game, basically.
Right. It was like there was basically the thought on Twitter was like, oh, good. They're getting the full Yankees-Red Sox experience, a 5-hour game.
Yeah. Because I've brought it up before where I've gone back and I never did the 70s, but I did the 80s where I go back and find a game that was 12-9 and look at the runtime of the game and compare it to a 2-1 game today. And the 12-9 game from 1985 was an hour shorter than a 2-1 game is in 2018. So that
some guy did a study, and it was basically on average every game is like 30 minutes longer.
Yeah, but yeah,
add the fucking pitch clock.
Right, I agree completely.
And I'm someone who loves the dead ball era, so like I understand the tradition in it. Like I understand the idea that like a shot clock in baseball essentially is kind of sacrilege, but like
hey.
Something's got to happen, man.
Dude, they are ruining the game. I mean, absolutely ruining it. When you've got a guy like me that grew up loving that sport more than anything, to the point now where it's like I almost don't even like watching it anymore, that's bad. That's really, really bad. But that's what I would tell my 13-year-old self. You're not going to believe what's going to happen to baseball. It's going to blow your mind. Mike, how has living in the States affected your following of the Canadian Football League?
Well, it's made it a bit more difficult, I will admit. I don't really find it on TV as much. I know it is available. I just need to search for it. But the fact that it's not like readily available, like you have to understand, in Canada, you got TSN, which is the ESPN equivalent, more or less. Like the CFL is like top flight programming in Canada. Like that's what, and I think people kind of underestimate the appeal that the CFL has in Canada, where people assume that because it's kind of minor league football that despite being the major Canadian Football League, no one pays attention to it, but people do. The Grey Cup is routinely the single highest rated sporting event in Canada of that year, like almost annually. I think the only times that it gets beaten are the Olympic years of Canada's playing in the gold medal game for hockey. That might beat it out, but otherwise the Grey Cup gets really high ratings, and it's a big deal. So like, watching the CFL in Canada is almost like watching like the NFL in the States. Like you just turn on one of the major sports networks and it's just there. And obviously that's taken some adjustment because I can't just watch the CFL on ESPN. I have to look for it. Mm-hmm. Which honestly does kind of I've watched less of it just because of that, right? Because it's kind of like an instant thing where like, and if there's a game I really want to watch, I will search it out. But like it used to be like I just turn on and be like, oh, you know, BC, Saskatchewan. I'm not a fan of either team, but I'll like have it on and watch it because I like football, right? But that doesn't happen anymore because I can't.
Well, because obviously you're distracted by so many spring football leagues here.
Oh, of course, right? You know, you got the AAF, the XFL, the I don't know what
Patriot League,
the Patriot League, the Freedom League, the players. Yeah. I don't, you know, it's just the CFL just gets lost. But no, honestly, it's honestly just the thing that like I can't just turn on the TV and have the CFL on, which means I can't watch it as much. And also the ESPN app on my phone doesn't have a CFL option, which peeves me greatly. But I do keep up with it. Like I said, if there are games that I particularly want to watch, I do search it out. And if you search it out in the States, you can find it easily enough. And even the weeks I don't watch, I'll stay up on the scores and the standings. So it's diminished, but in a way that I don't watch as much of it. But the games I really want to watch, I still, you know, go out of my way to find it. It's just that lazy, you know, have it on as background noise factor isn't really a thing anymore.
Finally,
that said, also go Ticats.
Finally, for all of you, what are some of your least favorite players who have played for your favorite teams?
Oh, boy. Start the list.
Oh.
Well, if you want to go back, speaking of the New York Rangers, back to when I was a Rangers fan, Eric Lindros. But we'll make it more local than that. And I don't even know if anybody remembers this guy. Travis Hafner was a first baseman for the Indians for a while there.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand him.
Really?
Never liked him. I don't know why.
He was good, though.
He was good. I just didn't like him.
I remember hating that guy.
I never liked him. Who's some other? I never liked Kenny Lofton that well when he played for the Indians. For the Browns, let me think. Some of the Browns guys that I didn't like. That's a little bit tougher. I don't know. I don't think I have too many of those. I just know Travis Hafner was one for the Indians that I didn't care for at all, and that's about the only one I can think of. So you guys take a crack at this.
Well, the Ducks, there's a few. Jeff Friesen, for one, was traded. He was the guy that came in the trade for Teemu Selanne, so I was predisposed to not enjoy him. And then he said that he hated playing here, and then he went to the Devils and scored a goal in Game 7 to beat us in the Stanley Cup Final, which was fun. Who else? Oh, Todd Bertuzzi. I couldn't believe when they signed that asshole. There's been a couple guys recently, but I can't remember. There's a lot of these guys that are just garbage players. It's like, why are you on my team? You're so bad. But then the ones that I can think of that I hate that were decent and that I hate are Angels players. Funnily enough, guys like Gary Matthews Jr. or Josh Hamilton or Mo Vaughn, and mostly because it's you pay these guys a ridiculous amount of money to absolutely suck. It's oh my God, why did you throw your money at this jerkwad when you could have spent it anywhere else and made the team, exponentially better? But,
yeah. Mike?
And then Lakers players come and go.
Well, maybe there's any Lakers I didn't like. No.
Swish Park.
What about Lorenzo Ball?
I got to go back to when I was actually following the league. I mean, I don't care one way or the other about him now. I'm just trying to think. There were a couple pitchers the Indians had that I didn't care for either.
I can't believe you guys, as Lakers fans, didn't say Anthony Davis, because he's part of a wrong way of building a team. So come on.
We don't care about that. We don't care about that. When you got 17, 18 banners hanging in the ceiling, you take them however you get them. Sorry, New Orleans, Boston, everybody else. What about you, Mike? Players on your favorite team that you didn't like?
Jake Garner can rot in hell.
Okay.
Oh, really? Why does everyone hate him? Isn't he not? He's not bad.
The last 2 Game 7s in Boston, he's been the main cause by giving up key goals. Dude, sorry, man. Jake Garner needs to be fired into the sun. Yeah. Get him out of here. He disgusts me. Another one. This is an old name from a while back. Another Leafs defenseman, Corey Cross. I don't know if that name rings any bells of anyone.
No.
He was on those Leafs teams in the late 90s, early 2000s that went on playoff runs. But he was always kind of a useless load who it was like the Leafs were playing shorthanded anytime he was on the ice. He had a habit of passing to the other team, which is not optimal.
No wonder you felt like you were playing shorthanded.
So Corey Cross sucked. I'm sure there have been worse Leafs players since then, but I just remember watching his ineptitude and just getting the chills anytime he took the ice. Also another Leaf, and it's an echoing of what Greg said, Eric Lindros. Which is, Eric Lindros came to the Leafs. He wanted to go to the Leafs after the Flyers. The Flyers wouldn't trade him there, so he went to the Rangers for a while. Then he came to the Leafs. And Lindros' Leafs tenure was actually really interesting because early in his first season, Matt Sundin went down with an injury. And Eric Lindros actually really stepped up, and he kind of regained a lot of his old form, and he was playing very well for the Leafs. And then he hurt his wrist. And the team doctor was like, you're actually fine. And he was basically like, no, the doctor my mom hired said I don't have to play, so I'm not going to play.
Fuck him all the way back to fucking junior hockey. Fuck him.
And it was like, look, you fucking asshole. You claimed you wanted to be a Maple Leaf. You finally got here. The captain went down. You stepped up in a big way. Things were going great. And now you're going to pull this bullshit. Get the fuck out.
Did he ever play for a cup winner?
Don't believe he ever won a cup, no.
Good.
I think his only shot at it was that year that the Flyers got swept by the Red Wings.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent with this, but for a guy that was as highly touted as he was coming into the league, I mean, he played well. It wasn't like he was a terrible player, but I don't know, man. He was unlikable. It seemed like even when he was good, he wasn't trying hard enough. I don't know. Maybe it was just a thing where fans were just too rough on him or what. But I just think he was a big disappointment, and fuck him. Fuck him anyway. Mm-hmm. You know, my mom's doctor. Fuck you. You know what? You're a hockey player. If your arm's still hanging off your body, get your ass out there.
Just like the whole thing. I don't know. Eric Lindros, fuck him.
Right,
so,
exactly.
There you go. Other than that, outside of that, I honestly can't think of. I guess another one that would be. This one's softened in time, and obviously the recent Raptors championship has really kind of softened the blow. But for a while, I hated Vince Carter for leaving the Raptors. And then Chris Bosh as well for leaving the Raptors to join the Heat Death Star. So, there you go. Not many Blue Jays that I hate, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, I guess Roger Clemens, because Roger Clemens would probably be the one former Blue Jay who I actually have an extreme dislike for.
I thought of one Brown. Kellen Winslow Jr. when he was the first time he was there, I hated him.
We're Warriors.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was a thing. It was on Twitter a couple weeks ago that like one of his other problems is that he freely masturbated in front of the team.
Like in the locker room? Like
I don't know where, but for wherever the team was.
Like, for fuck's sake, at least have the decency to go into a bathroom stall.
I remember retweeting it and saying like this guy wasn't weird enough already. Anyway,
Like, was he doing it when the coach was giving a halftime speech?
I kind of hope so because that would just be hilarious if it was true. I don't know.
Where was that on Playmakers?
Here, I got one for Rams.
Okay.
Even though it was only a quick stint here. Case Keenum.
Okay.
Who then had like the audacity to trick everyone into thinking he was good for a year afterwards.
Yeah.
Somebody's always got to come along and be the next Matt Flynn. And it's just the way it is. We forgot one of Wild Wings questions, guys. It's a real easy one, real quick. And what's your favorite place that you've ever visited?
Oh, okay. Got a couple.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
For me, it's probably actually a tie between the San Francisco Bay Area and Edinburgh, Scotland.
That's kind of a tie for me, too, oddly enough. My favorite place that I've ever visited, as far as like a specific place, Kennedy Space Center. Mm-hmm. And if you're talking like the city or that type of thing, would be your very own Toronto, Canada, Mike.
Oh, yeah. Toronto's a great place.
Love Toronto. Love it.
I wouldn't say I've ever visited Toronto, considering I grew up and lived less than an hour away. It'd
be like me visiting Cleveland. It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I just lived around it. But Toronto is a fantastic. I love Toronto.
I fell in love with it the first time I was ever there. I just thought it was the greatest thing. What about you, Zach? Favorite place you've ever visited? Galaxy's Edge,
right? Yeah, right. But two. No, I mean, when it comes to like real places, I gotta think. Really, it's. I loved Montreal. I thought Montreal was gorgeous. I'd love to go back there, and I mean, I've been there several times now, but New York City is still my favorite place to go visit. It's a great American city.
I love New York too, but there's just something about Toronto that just really struck me. I don't know what it is, but yeah,
it's the clean air is what it is.
I think it's the cleanliness of all of it. Yeah.
But I would love to just go and visit Montreal. The problem is that I have family in Montreal,
right?
And so I can never just go to Montreal. It's always like a thing. Like, this is going to be awful to say. And I hope no one who I am related to who lives in Montreal hears this, because some people in my family do listen to this, so please don't pass this along to anyone else. But I would love to go to Montreal and just not tell anyone I'm related to that I'm going to be in town.
No, not a thing wrong with that.
And just like not. But then with my luck, like I'll be, going out to grab something to eat or something, or I'll bump into like a cousin or something, and then it'll be like, oh fuck.
We tried that. Where did we go? We went somewhere where we had people that we knew, and we tried to sneak in and out, and got busted. Simple as that. And I had to like think on my feet and go, we just got here. We hadn't gotten a chance to get a hold of you yet, blah, blah, blah. But believe me, man, everybody feels that way. Like everybody has a place they'd love to go where they have family, but they'd like to go without being part of the family. So knock on the family. But you can't be truly yourself if you've got family around. It's just the way it is. So don't take offense to any of Mike's family. He doesn't mean it the way it sounds.
I just want to spend a few days where you are without talking to you. Is that so much to ask?
Right, exactly. Right. Did we get all? Okay, so we covered all the favorite places. I didn't want to shortchange our buddy Wild Wing there. Okay. Let's see what's next. From Cosmic, another longtime listener of the show, a friend of the show, as we like to call them. Balancing out that some of these are in their off-season at the moment, how would each of you rank your interest in the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, MLS, and CFL? And I guess Greg can throw NASCAR in there as well. Thanks, Cosmic. I appreciate that. I'm assuming, does he mean, okay, this is number one?
Just in general? Or right now? Right this second?
I don't know. Just what our interest is.
I mean,
like one, two.
Given that everything but baseball is in the off season, I'm just going to go with overall.
Yeah, that's what I was doing too. Overall, absolutely. Yeah. Who wants to take it?
I'll go. I mean, obviously, if anybody listened to the show, I think you know that hockey is number one for at least Mike and I. Mm-hmm. Number two is the NFL, definitely. Number three, college football.
Yeah, it's not listed, but that would be mine too.
Yeah, college football.
I should say it would be mine. That would be on my list, is what I should say.
Yeah, then man, baseball. I guess I pay attention.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's just so hard to follow it every day if you're not in it. You know?
Want to know why? I'll tell you why. Because it sucks. I'm not kidding. It sucks. Our guy Super 70 Sports tweeted today. I forget the whole tweet, but the gist of it was they sit around with their thumbs up their asses waiting to hit a home run. I said, that's baseball today. That's it. So anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Yeah,
no, you're right. I read something similar today where everything's about it's all about slugging percentage now.
That's it.
That's the big number that everyone's paying attention to.
And everyone laughed at me when I said we needed to return to the dead ball era.
Dude, I'm not ready to go completely dead ball era, but I'm with you on 90% of that.
We need to get back to it. We need, as Ra's al Ghul said, we need to burn the forest down so it can regrow.
The thing is, and we should save this for next week, and maybe this would be a good topic for next week. So I'll leave it with this. I don't know how you fix it at this point. I don't know how you save it. So, folks, if you're listening, throw us some ideas on how you would save baseball for next week's show, because I've got no fucking idea. Anyway, go ahead, Zach. Keep ranking.
It's really tough. Okay, so we got NHL, NFL, college football, MLB. What were the other ones that we're leaving out there?
NBA,
MLS, yeah.
And CFL. And NASCAR, if you want to throw it in there, although I doubt you will.
I won't. Honestly, I think international soccer is probably right around baseball. Because, really with baseball, I pay attention to the standings and the Angels. And then
you know what? And I hate to keep harping on this, but I honestly think at this point in the proceeding, I would rather watch I've got to watch a half hour of a sport. I get 30 minutes and that's it. I'm watching soccer over baseball.
Yeah,
because something might actually fucking happen.
Right. In baseball, you're not guaranteed that something's going to happen. And that's either because you're stuck in the same inning for a half hour.
Right.
Or because it's going to go so quickly, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that you're never going to see anything go on. But
but let me just finish this. And it's not. I don't hate baseball. I'm not doing this because it breaks my heart to see my beloved, beautiful sport turn into what it's become. So anyway, go ahead.
And then, just to fill in the rest, then NBA, MLS, CFL, NASCAR.
Well, you don't have to throw NASCAR in. That was just for me.
I mean, really, the thing is, like...
NASCAR's going to get plenty of love from me. You don't have to do anything for it.
No, but, just in general, when I had more free time, when you're in college or when you're in high school or whatever, I can pay attention to everything all the time and know everything there is to know about every single sport all the time. But as time's gone on, it's like, well, I don't have that much time to dedicate to crap. So it's like the NHL is on top. It's really the central grouping of NHL, NFL, college football. I pay attention to those a lot. And then there's a big drop off to the rest of it, which,
yeah,
kind of comes and goes.
Mike?
NHL top. I'm gonna be the lone. I'm gonna say first of all that nothing that you guys have said about baseball is wrong at all. But I'm still gonna put baseball at my number 2 spot. I got to keep the dream alive. I've got to hold out hope for the future.
I'm with you, brother.
And just at the very least support the idea of baseball being good.
I wish baseball was good. It's just it's a tough watch.
Yeah, it's the way that the game is now, and just as a bit of a preview, I guess if we talk about this next week, is I think that you can change it. It's just that it's going to be hard because I think that the changes that you need to make are not. There are a few rule changes you could make. But I think broadly, it's a cultural thing,
yep,
and not a rule thing. Like you could change a few rules here and there that would be improvements. But I think broadly speaking, you need to change the culture of the game,
yep,
not just among fans, but also among players. And that's going to be a tough sell because at that point, it's essentially trying to instill a new idea in a new generation, and then waiting for the old generation to sort of play themselves out. It would take time. But I agree. None of you guys are wrong. What you guys are saying about baseball isn't wrong, but I still like the idea of good baseball, and baseball, I think, in its plutonic ideal, is still one of my favorite sports. So I'm going to put MLB at number 2. NFL/CFL, I'm going to rank them around equally. They're 3. They're tied for the 3 spot. I don't even view them as in competition. They're just 2 variations of a sport that I like, and they don't even play at the same time. So, for the most part. So, I just kind of rank. They're both gridiron football. After that, I'm going to put the NBA. Although, if the NBA continues to remain as open as it appears like it's going to remain wide open, I might watch more NBA.
Yeah, it could get more interesting at the way it's set up right now. It really could.
Again, but I find we've talked about 100 times. The NBA is the same problem that baseball does, where I can't sit and watch a whole game.
Yeah,
that is basketball's main problem. Fundamentally, is it gets hard to get into the regular season.
Well, if you really sit down and talk about it, I think the only 2 sports where it's easy to watch an entire game are hockey and football.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey, because it's just nonstop action, and you really can't kind of weave in and out of it because you could miss a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the NFL is so perfectly structured to
a TV audience.
Audience that you only got to pay attention for 8 seconds at a time.
I'd say it depends. The NBA is certainly under the NFL and NFL and CFL. I might. Depending again on how the NBA shakes up, if it is just if it remains as wide open and not so much of a foregone conclusion, then it would be then I might pay more attention to it. But as of right now, it's still under football. And then under NBA, I'm going to put college football. NBA leapfrogged college football because of the Raptors. I'm just going to be shameless and admit that. We the North, NBA champs, woot woot. And then after college football, I'm going to throw in F1/Formula E.
There you
racing.
go. There you go.
I won't join you on the NASCAR.
It's okay. Hey, man, racing's racing, dude. It's all that matters to me.
After that, I would say MLS.
All right. I guess I'm up, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, so to rank the sports for me, and this is a surprise to me as much as it is to anyone else, but I've noticed this taking place over the past 3 years. Number one on my list, guys, is NASCAR. It is the sport that I follow the most closely, that I go out of my way to watch, and it is probably, gun to my head, I'd have to say my favorite sport right now. I'm with Mike for all the problems that we've talked about with baseball, and everything we've said is true. Like he said, it's still my number 2 sport, followed by the NFL, which is a close number 2. After that, I'm going to go college football, NHL, but not until mid-January to early February before I even start paying real attention to it. The CFL.
Come on, those Coyotes Predators games in mid-November are important, Greg.
Yeah.
When football season ends is when I start getting into hockey, and that's just the way it's going to have to be.
I love Tuesday night December hockey. It's the best.
It's like Wednesday night May baseball. Yeah, same exact thing.
It's so good. It brings so many memories of, like, on a Tuesday night, going over to my friend's place. It's snowing out. It's dark by 4 o'clock. Like, going over to my friend's place to watch the Leafs lose to, like, I don't know, the fucking Panthers or some shit, and then be like, oh, that sucked. Let's have some beers, and then that was the evening.
Yeah, but I'm gonna.
Hockey never change.
I'm gonna go NASCAR 1, baseball 2, NFL 3, college football 4, NHL after football season's over will be 5. I'm curious, like Mike, with the NBA, if it stays open and competitive, it might move up. But right now, it's below those. And look, I don't hate soccer the way I used to.
Oh no, you hate soccer.
I don't hate it as much as I used to. The CFL is a weird league for me. It's like I want to like it. I want to watch more of it. I just never think to watch more of it. And I like NHRA drag racing, too.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
We will pick it up with a question from D. Screggy729. What is the longest song you consistently listen to? I actually have an answer for this if you guys don't.
I have an answer, but you go for it.
Yeah, I have a couple.
For me, it's Achilles' Last Stand by Led Zeppelin, which is about 11 minutes and something. Mm-hmm. And I've listened to every minute of it. You guys?
But Bohemian Rhapsody whenever it comes on.
Oh, of course.
And then the only other long ones that I can think of that I listen to consistently, when Green Day put out their rock opera albums, the American Idiot and then 21st Century Breakdown. On both of those, they have on American Idiot, there's 2 really long ones, Jesus of Suburbia and Homecoming, and I listen to those all because that's one of those albums that hit me at the exact right time where like I play it all the time. It's one of my seminal listens, I guess. And then on the second one, they did another long song that's not as good, but it's fine. And they also did a cover of a Who song. I'm gonna pull it up right now because I don't remember the full name. Go ahead, Mike.
For me, let's see, Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, End of an Empire by Teresis, Rebellion in Dreamland by Gamma Ray.
Mike pulling out some of the
a quick one while he's away. That's the
the Who song. Yeah, that's like a little bit. That was their predecessor to Tommy. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Jesus of Suburbia is another one by Green Day to echo Zach because like him, that album was like the perfect time for me. And then to round it out, Battle of Evermore by Led Zeppelin.
Ooh, another good choice. Your favorite guilty pleasure song?
I don't have like a one that stands out necessarily, but like not afraid to admit I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan.
Okay.
I love Taylor Swift. Like, she's the pop person of our generation, and she has some great hits. What can I tell you? I like almost everything she does. The last 2 albums are a little hit and miss, but even the last one had songs that I rock out to. So I like Taylor Swift. There you go.
There are a few not Green Day, but there are a few Nickelback songs that I like. Hero in particular.
Hero from the Spider-Man soundtrack?
Yeah.
Great tune, man. That's a great tune.
Hero save us.
Look. All right, Nickelback is not good per se. I also like their cover of Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting.
That's a good one too. Yeah, I do like that.
Look, Nickelback is they're not good, but they've got some hits. They got some songs that I like, and I think what Zach was getting at is that, yes, I'm Canadian and they are Canadian, and I heard a lot of them on the radio because to conform with laws regarding Canadian content.
So funny.
Nickelback being a successful Canadian band was an easy way for a lot of stations to fill that content requirement, and I heard a lot of them growing up. Again, I admit it's not good. I'm not proud of it, but there are Nickelback songs I appreciate.
Well, the thing with Nickelback is
there's Photograph.
Look at this photograph.
But the truth of the matter is that this band can't be this big and sell this many records if they're that terrible.
Yeah, but
their first couple albums are really good. Like, I will ride for the first couple Nickelback albums. Then they just sort of lost their train of thought.
They were very formulaic. They just
And to play devil's advocate to that argument, Greg, I mean, Michael Bay still makes movies that make billions of dollars. That doesn't necessarily mean anything.
I suppose. I was going to say you only got to show up to watch a movie once for it to make money. Nickelback, I don't know. I don't think they're as bad as everybody says they are. They're not great. I'll give you that.
The thing about Nickelback is, even though I admit that a lot of their stuff isn't good, and it's I still feel guilty admitting to liking the good stuff because I have to quantify. It's no, I don't. I only like these songs.
Yeah. My all-time favorite guilty pleasure song is "Dancing Queen" by ABBA. Love that song.
Wow.
And I'm way into Madonna stuff. Not all of it, but the I don't know, the mid 80s Madonna stuff and maybe early 90s. There's some killer tracks that she put out there. I like Vogue and what are some of the other ones?
Okay. I got some more for me. Well, okay, so this one I'm not sure if it counts as a guilty pleasure. I really like it, but I'm not sure how it really ranks up there. Africa by Toto.
Great tune.
That's good, right?
Great tune,
what I actually really like? The Weezer cover of Africa.
Oh, you mean it's the exact same song? Okay.
Way. It's played better.
And another one, I guess, this is the one that that's really shameful, but, we're sharing, and I'll share. Believe by Cher.
That's a good tune. Nothing wrong with that.
So,
the only problem I have. Wait, Zach, let me get this in before I forget.
Yeah.
The only problem I have with the Cher tune is that she unleashed the auto-tune thing on us with that song.
I mean,
other than that,
someone was going to do it eventually.
Yeah,
right?
I know, but she didn't need it. But I think "Believe's" a pretty cool tune, actually. So, I'm not, I'm not too much of a music snob. I'm not a rock snob. I mean, I think a good song's a good song.
Anyone here a fan of Journey?
Oh yeah,
well, of course,
definitely.
Yeah.
Just a small time girl.
Oh, Don't Stop Believing. Dude, everybody.
Believing.
You could find the most hardened Metallica fan out there, and if he would be truthful with you, he would tell you that he knows every word to that song. Every single word, every bit of it, believe me. It's a great tune. Journey did a lot of great stuff. They're a good band.
Yeah, and then when it comes to, that's all the radio stuff. And then, of course, I love musicals, so.
Oh, yeah.
Musical theater.
You guys lose me there. I am not
musical theaters. Musical theater's great, although I wouldn't say that's a guilty pleasure. I will flat out openly ride for Broadway. So
I like. Well, let's see. There's a few that I've seen that I liked. I like Fiddler on the Roof. I like Tradition. I liked Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I liked Phantom of the Opera.
That's my all-time favorite, Phantom of the Opera.
I saw that at the in Toledo. Probably a much smaller scale version of it, but it was just one of the coolest shows.
You know what? Now that you've said it, I want to see the Toledo production of Phantom of the Opera. I want to see what that's like.
It was really good. I mean, it's Toledo. It's not like Toledo's some cow town. I mean, it's
I know.
Total metropolitan area is over 1 million people.
Okay, Toledo Board of Commerce, I understand.
Hey, I'm a born and bred Toledo, and I got to stand up for my hometown, man. All right. Anyway, let's move along here. Let's see. We're going to skip the one from me because there's no need for my questions to be part of this. These are from a few of my Facebook friends. We'll start with this one. You have to go back to your senior year of high school, and you know everything you know now. You can pick any college you want to attend. Do you still choose the same college? Do you still choose the same major?
I mean, more or less, yeah. The only thing I would change is when I entered university, I entered as part of the political science program, and I transferred to history after 1 year. But the thing is that the requirements for those for history and for political science at the year one level are pretty much indistinguishable, and so it was a super easy transfer that didn't cause any problems. So, like, I guess I'd just tell myself, like, I guess I'd just go into history right away and save myself the 20 minutes of filling out paperwork that I had to do that one summer. So, would you
still go to the same college?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of my best friends to this day are people I met there. So definitely.
Right. Zach?
I mean, yeah, it's when I was in my senior year, I had already decided, even before the year started, that I wasn't going to apply to schools. Because my whole plan was to go to USC, and I wanted to go to community college for 2 years to save money and get the requirements out of the way, mostly to save money, and then I would go to USC and fulfill my dream. Those things never happened. So what I would go back and do is, like, even if I had that plan in place and that could still be an option, apply to schools, and if I had gotten into somewhere I probably would have applied to Texas A&M where my mom went. I would have still applied to Arizona State, and I probably still. And if I could tell my old self that, I'd be like, "Look, don't bother with community college. Like, just go have your experiences now, because they're gonna catch up with you later. So just go do it." So
same major.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. Yes, I enjoy the job. No, I'd be like, look, you're not going to make a whole ton of money doing this.
Yeah.
You're not going to be on TV with ESPN that quickly. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
When you're in high school, that's what I'm going to do. And I was like, journalism's hard, man.
Yeah, that's my thing too, the money. I would tell myself, like, look, you can still do this, but you're not going to get rich. If I could go back and do it over again, knowing everything I know now, I wouldn't go to Ohio State, and I wouldn't go to the University of Toledo. I'd go to Stanford. A, for the weather, and B, it's a great school. But I would probably go to a much more not to say that the schools I went to are disreputable, but I would go to a big name like Stanford, Michigan, along those lines, Duke, somewhere like that. But other than that, I think I do it all about the same. I'd like to think I'd switch majors, but I don't know what the hell else I'd do.
Right. That's my thing too.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's like I chose the major I chose because it's what my passion is, and right. I don't know outside. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, like, based on my experiences too, like I know that you don't necessarily need a journalism degree to do well in journalism. Like, it helps, certainly in certain ways, but like, I mean, I guess you could have just gotten a degree in history or in accounting. Just to get like a business degree behind you.
See, that's the thing. Like, I think about it. Like, if I could have changed anything, like maybe get a business degree and do that instead of the teacher thing I ended up doing. Except the thing with that is that, like, accounting or statistics or anything like that, like, I think about, like, if I had to, like, sit through 4+ years of that, like, I probably would have killed myself. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, I think if I was going to change my major to anything, it would have been history, because I think having a historical reference of the world is an important thing to have.
Oh, I think it's cool as hell that Mike can just, like, reel off all these interesting facts about just about any place we bring up. You know, that's cool.
It's a really fun degree. I mean, I had a good time, but.
All right, let's pick up the pace a little here. Oh boy, what is the dumbest thing you've ever said or done on a date? God, it might have been easier to ask me the one time I didn't say something dumb on a date. I might remember that.
I shared the share thing. I don't know if I want to share this.
Yeah, like there's one that immediately jumps to mind, but I don't even think that I don't think I want to say it.
I'm kind of the same way. You know what? I'm sorry, I forget who asked us this question, but in the interest of protecting the other people that were involved in it, I think we're going to skip it.
Yeah, look, mistakes were made. I feel bad. But
can we all agree that
we've all moved on?
Can we all ourselves, because we've all grown up?
Yeah. Can we all agree that we've done
a lot of dumb things?
We've really done some stupid ass shit on dates, and okay, fine, good enough. Do any of you have a weird talent? If so, what is it? I don't know, like weird how, like.
I mean, I think this would qualify as a weird talent. So I'll just go with this. So okay, you know how some people can wiggle their ears?
Right.
I can wiggle my ears, but I can also wiggle them individually one at a time.
Wow. Really?
Yes. So I didn't even know it was that weird until, like, I was kind of absent-mindedly doing it one day, and my mom was like, "Oh, not a lot of people can do that."
My son's an alien.
Yeah. And so I don't know. Like, I guess the whole thing is like, at what point does a talent get considered weird? But I think that one's suitably weird enough. So
sure, we'll allow it. Zach?
I don't have anything like that, but I think I'd like to consider myself a little bit of a parrot in a way, where, like, I'm not the best at accents, but I can. If somebody says something a certain way, I can repeat that word.
You have a better Canadian accent than actual Canadians, Zach.
Yeah, I know your Bill. Well, actually, your cousin Sal doing Bill Simmons is one of my favorites.
But that's what I mean. I didn't make those up.
Yeah,
I got those from somewhere else, and I've then reapplied them.
Yeah,
like I couldn't tell you a Canadian accent right off the spot, but that's a thing that I heard somewhere else that I've then appropriated for my own uses.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So, like, I can parrot an impression or an accent, but I can't, like, make them up on the spot. Mm-hmm. Like, if I couldn't be, like, a voice actor, let's say, because, like, if it's like, hey, you got to go into this audition and make up here's this character, and, you know, go make up a noise for him.
Right.
It wouldn't work because I couldn't think of it, but I can repeat it.
Yeah, so, like I said, I love the Cousin Sal doing Bill Simmons. The Canadian guys are great. I'm sure you've done others. I just can't think of them. I don't know if you'd call this a talent or if it's weird or not. I can run a cash register like nobody's business. I am really, 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 really good at it, and I don't know why, but I just took to it so quickly because, like, in college, you'd have to work at, like, gas stations and stuff. And I'm a whiz at running a cash register. It's like, it's just like I can look at one and go, all right, I can figure this out, and I know how, like, what the price lookups are and all that. It takes me like 10 minutes, and I'm right there on it. I don't know why that is, but that's kind of weird, I suppose. And I don't know if it's a talent necessarily, but that's about it. That's all I can think of for me. So, sorry, whoever. I don't know. I forgot to put who wrote these, so I apologize for that. These are for my girlfriend. You have to get rid of all your jerseys except one. Which one do you keep and why? I wonder if that's like a little bit of a subliminal or like a not so subtle message to me.
I mean, that one's easy for me. I'd keep one of my Maple Leafs jerseys. I'm not sure which one off the top of my head, but I would figure it out. But one of my Maple Leafs jerseys, because for the Blue Jays, I got caps. For the Raptors, I've got caps and I've got a T-shirt. I've got T-shirts for the Chargers and the Ticats. I've got hats for the Ticats. So, like, I've got other paraphernalia I can wear, but I kind of feel like you need the jersey for hockey.
Okay, Zach.
Oh boy, that's a tough cookie to crack, friends.
Sounds like the only one out of us that actually has to worry about actually doing it might be me.
I have 4 that I can narrow it down to, but I want to keep each one of them for their own respective reasons. I have, or do I have 4? I guess 3. I have my Paul Kariya Mighty Ducks jersey, which you want to keep for
right
reasons. I have my Teemu Solani Anaheim Ducks Stanley Cup champion jersey signed by Teemu. That's probably the leader. And then that's a replica. I have an authentic Scott Niedermayer Stanley Cup champion Anaheim Ducks jersey that I love. So, if I had to pick one, I guess I got to save the Teemu one and let the others burn. But over my dead body is how I respond to that question. Like, my girlfriend tells me all the time, like, I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about buying another jersey. She said, no, you have too many. You're not getting any more. But I'm like, but I don't have this one, which would complete the set.
Right.
Until next year when more come out.
Right.
Yeah, it's not my fault they keep making them.
First off, I don't want to get rid of any of my jerseys. But if I had to, the one I'm going to keep might be a bit of a surprise. I'd keep my Cleveland Crusaders jersey, just because it's probably the rarest of all the ones I have. And it's the one you see the least of. So I can always get another Rangers jersey. I can always get another Blue Jackets jersey, all the baseball jerseys, all the football. But that Crusaders jersey, I don't know how much longer they're going to be making those. So that's the one I keep, my Cleveland Crusaders from WHA. And finally, you can time travel and live in any decade. What decade do you choose, and where do you choose to live? I'll make this easy. I'm going
choose a decade and where?
Yeah, like you can. You can do like a decade and where, like like just where you are now, but which decade, or this one, or whatever. I guess mine's easy. I'd go back to like late 50s, early 60s, and I'd live in California.
See, the thing about this, I think that a lot of people don't realize is that, like, I have a feeling a lot of people, if they could actually do this, would realize they probably miss their iPhone more than they probably think they would. Like, so there's that. But okay, you know what? I'm just gonna go with what I think would. I think this is. Of everything that I could think of, this is probably the coolest answer. 1980s Miami.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm just thinking 50s, early 60s California because it's still affordable at that point.
Look. All right. I really liked Vice City, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and that's what I'm staying with.
You just want to go to nightclubs and snort cocaine, Mike? Like,
I mean, I could.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it, man.
I can think of worse things to do.
I can see Mike rocking the pastel jacket with the T-shirt underneath, and the 5-day beard growth going. Come on now.
Yeah, let's kick it into high gear.
Shoes with no socks on. Come on. All right. Let's see here. What else?
Was a golden era.
Where can I go? Man, I don't know because God, there's so many things from
Oh no! I take mine back. I'm going to go live on the Space Coast in the '60s with all the NASA shit going on.
Oh,
that's where I'm headed. Yeah, that's where I'm going.
I don't know. 1876 London. I don't know.
Okay.
Jeez, I really don't know, man.
You gonna get a top hat and cane and...
He'd be, get ready for this. This is going to be the best joke I've ever made on the show. He would be Zach the Ripper. All right. Of course, it was a terrible joke. I wasn't serious.
No, of course not. No, I think I like your answer, Greg.
The Space Coast or California?
California.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to think I like Mad Men, and I'm like, I could go to the 60s in New York, but 60s New York is also very dirty and dangerous,
right.
So maybe not.
I'm just thinking, man, California is just starting to happen. It's affordable. You can still get places on the beach.
Yeah.
You know, like living in Malibu is not out of the question. It would be awesome, right?
Oh, yeah. No, totally.
Yeah. All right.
I agree.
Let's move along here. Let's see. This one is from BuckFan56. What is the absolute worst time you've had at a live sporting event and why? I've got an answer for this. You guys want me to go first?
Go for it.
It was an Indians-Rangers doubleheader in August of 1990. The Indians were like 150 games out of first place. The Rangers were about 75 games out of first place.
Real high-stakes baseball is what you're getting at.
Might have been maybe 4,000 people at big cavernous Cleveland Stadium. Both teams were just going through the motions, and I think I stayed for 6 innings of the first game and left. It was just the most – I will say this. It was a worse one-time experience than Tropicana Field was for baseball. It was that bad. It was no fun at all. None.
I mean, a Tropicana Field incident would probably top my list because, God damn it, like I said, I love baseball. Baseball makes me happy, ideally. And even if it's like the perfectly played game of baseball, Tropicana Field makes me sad. Like, just being in the stands there makes me depressed because, like, I'm not kidding when I say it's like playing baseball in a Costco.
Yep.
It's just so sad and depressing. But like, I've been there a few times now, mostly to watch the Jays. Last time I went to see the Jays play, I actually shared it on the show that in between, I believe it was the third and fourth innings, I was getting hungry, so I went down to go to the Papa John's that was in the stadium. And as strange as it is, considering that no one goes to Rays games, and this one wasn't a particularly full crowd, everyone must have been at that Papa John's because it was, God, you're looking at like a 45-minute wait.
Wow.
And on top of that, so okay, I'm like, fine, whatever. I go to the burger place next door, and it's got a shorter line. Still moves pretty damn slow. I finally get up. I order the chicken sandwich, no mayo. I'm really not a fan of mayo. It comes back with mayo.
Of course it does.
So I get my way up to the front line. I'm like, hey, I asked this for no mayo. And they're like, oh. And I look down. It's like, we can't do no mayo.
Huh?
And I'm like,
I've heard that before at places.
And I'm like,
at stadiums.
How hard it? Just don't put the mayonnaise on it.
That's my thought too. But supposedly it screws up like their assembly line that they have going on.
Oh, for Pete's sake!
Yeah,
and it's like,
instead of making it special, they just need to be pumping these things out. So they just don't do it.
And so essentially I waited in line for. I think all told, I should have just stayed in the Papa John's line. I would have gotten my food at the same time at the end of it. I actually would have gotten food at the end of it because, like, I was left with a sandwich. I had mayo on it, and I despise mayo, so I had to trash it. And I ended up getting a box of Cracker Jacks and getting back to my seat, and we were already into, like, the middle of the fifth inning. And I was just like, God,
oh, that
damn,
sucks.
I hate this. I hate the stadium.
All right, how about it, Zach?
I was trying to think of something specific like that, where I've had that sort of experience. And I guess the only one in that regard, because there's one that jumps out to mind in terms of like the actual game and all that, and that's when the Ducks played the Kings. It was Game 7. It was going to be Teemu Selanne's last game if they lost. They lost, 10-2 or 7-2 at home. They were never in it. So they lost their first ever series to the Kings at home and ended Teemu Selanne's career in like the most pathetic fashion. And it's one of the few games that's actually made me like extremely emotional about, sports on a losing end in that way. But when it comes to like just miserable days at a game, in high school, I went out to Arizona State while my aunt was going to school there for an ASU-USC game. And I was a USC fan still at the time. So it was Reggie Bush, and he had an incredible day, and the game itself was great. The problem was this was a day game at Sun Devil Stadium in September.
Oh.
And we were sitting on these aluminum bleachers in the sun.
Oh.
It was just a sweat box.
I bet.
We left at halftime because it was like SC was up big, and it was like, you know what? This is not worth anybody's time, especially because like I was on the high school football team still then, so I had to do my high school football game on Friday night, and then I drove out, late Friday, overnight. Immediately got to the game, went straight, or immediately got to Arizona, slept a little bit, immediately went out to the game like the next day, and it was just like, I'm tired. It's sweltering hot. And Sun Devil Stadium has no like overhangs or there's nowhere to hide,
right?
Unless you're like on the shady side of the stadium, and it's just no thanks, man. Like I was not into it.
Yeah, I imagine not. That would suck. Okay. Let's see. Oh, we're almost done, guys. I'm gonna save this one for next week's show, the Betsy Ross Nike thing. I think that's a whole discussion unto itself.
Okay.
This is one from Andy. I'm not sure I understand this, but we'll give it a shot, I suppose. What's the hardest decision you've ever made about something trivial? And he said, for example, I gave up on Penny Dreadful after one episode, and it broke my girlfriend's heart, but my decision was final. I don't understand the premise of the question. I don't think
a hard decision for something trivial, huh?
Yeah, I mean, do you? What am I missing here, guys?
Huh.
Basically, like something that's completely inconsequential that you made a big stink about, just because you like.
I took it more as like it's something that like is inconsequential, but you made a decision that felt a hell of a lot more important to you than it probably actually was. Is the way I took it. But I don't know.
What was the hardest decision you've made about something trivial? I do not. I mean, I'm sure I'm sure something happened that I could say. But.
See, this is a question that I know that if like you asked my girlfriend, I'm sure she'd have an answer for you about something I've done.
Yeah.
But I can't think of anything on my own.
I'm trying to think of like maybe with like a video game or something like.
Yeah, I mean, I get mad at video games all the time, and it's like, and I get over it quickly, but like somebody listening to me like, hey, you need to calm down. It's like, no, I am calm. It's just this fucking thing. It's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's not letting me win,
I would say in terms of video games, probably just cold turkey quitting World of Warcraft. And then it seemed like I've been playing this game for a while, and then I just but it's like it's time to move on. And then I clicked uninstall, and then it was uninstalled, and then that was it. And then my life went on as normal, and it turned out to not be a big deal.
I'm going to go with something like that. I have this blackjack game on my iPad that I play once in a while, and I'd won a bunch of money. I'd gotten up to I had over 12 million fake dollars on it, and I started treating that money like it was my own, like I was afraid to spend it and stuff. And it became, I got to the point where I was like, oh my God, I can't get down below. And then I finally went, what the fuck are you doing? and I just started like just blowing it like on big bets and stuff. That's the closest thing I can think of that even that might even be remotely in the ballpark for what he's asking here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, we did. Oh, sorry.
No, yeah, just stuff like that where it's it's in video game stuff, and I guess I'm trying to think of something along the lines of what he was even talking about, because I know there's been like shows where it's like, you know what, I can't, you know.
The only time like I've ever really made a decision to give up on a show, usually when I give up on a show, I just kind of just fall out of the habit of watching it.
Right.
Yeah.
But the only time I can think of where I made like an active decision, like I'm not watching the show anymore, would have been The Walking Dead.
I did the same thing. I no more.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just kind of like was like, no, I can't do it anymore. It's done. I can't do this rigmarole, and so I gave it up. And I mean, I made that, but that's like that's the only show I can think of where like I actively said I'm done. So you know.
All right, should we wrap it up? We
missed some Bucks fan questions actually.
Oh, did we?
Yes, he asked what the worst time that we've had at a live sporting event. We answered that, but he also had what's the one defunct sports stadium that you wish you could have seen a game at?
Wow. Ebbets Field. Easy for me. Ebbets Field.
Maple Leaf Gardens.
Yeah, Maple Leaf Gardens, Montreal Forum.
Yeah, we should do one for each sport. For me, it'd be Ebbets Field, Maple Leaf. Was it Maple Leaf Gardens? Is that what they called it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Football.
The Forum. I mean, it's not demolished.
But the fabulous. Yeah,
nobody plays there anymore.
And in football, the Orange Bowl with the Dolphins. Not the bowl game, but with the Dolphins playing at the Orange Bowl. Be the ones I'd like to see before they were gone. Yeah.
All right. He also had, if you could punch any one pro athlete square in the face with no repercussions, who would that be?
Well, hell, I'm going to go right back to our default guy, Eric Lindros.
Eric Lindros.
John Brady.
John Elway.
John Elway. I would say, this is going to be John Elway is easily punchable, and Tom Brady has like a punchable face, but like John Rocker.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Drew Doughty is another. Just love to.
What's his name? Brad Marchand from the fucking Bruins. Sean Avery. Another guy I wouldn't mind decking. I don't know. You don't want to punch a hockey player. Probably not the best idea. Okay, shall we move on? We've got one list of questions left from Adam. He usually leads off, but we left him finish out the show this week. I'm going to say right off the top, Adam, we're not going to answer all of these because we already did a wrestling question on the AEW. And what's up? I don't know. I'm not going to get to that. So we'll start with this one for Mike, I guess. Whatever happened to Basically a Geek Show?
Basically a Geek Show. So basically the thing with that is that Jack, my co-host on that one, we still talk regularly, but his work schedule just got to a point, it changed in a way that it made it harder to schedule shows. And honestly, it was one of those things where we just didn't, we just kept putting it off every week when we couldn't find a good time to make it work, and then we kind of just fell out of it. It's a project I would like to pick up, and I'd like to talk to Jack about picking it back up again. The only problem, again, we just have to find time to make it work, and I'm sure we could currently, but it's one of those things where we fell out of the habit of doing it, and that was that, honestly.
Okay. Could a bear who broke into a honey farm and binged on honey a la Scarface possibly take a slot in the glorious tournament of victory? Sure, I suppose. What do you guys think? Not the strangest entry we've ever had.
Definitely. I could definitely see it.
Yeah, why not? We already did the AEW, Mike, so if you don't mind, we'll skip that one.
Let's see. Yeah. I'm just going to say very briefly on the AEW stuff. I'm excited for it. I think it can be an alternative. I don't think it's going to be another Impact Wrestling because unlike Impact Wrestling, they seem to have people who know what they're doing. And I'll just leave it at that.
Cool. Zach, does the recent death of Tyler Skaggs, which we haven't really had a chance to talk about, fire this Angels team up enough to make the playoffs?
It did for a few days.
Yeah, I don't know that something like that can push a team. It can't make a team that's marginally talented more talented. Unfortunately,
yeah, if they were better, I'd say yes. But the fact of the matter is, they're just the rest of the team outside of Trout and Ohtani is just not good enough. Even with what Tommy Lastella's done, the rest of the team just isn't good enough.
Yeah,
and you hate to kind of go to the sports aspect of a tragedy like that so quickly, but like the fact that you don't have Tyler Skaggs in the starting lineup hurts this team,
right?
And a team that was starved for pitching as it was, losing one of their better starters isn't going to help them any. So
yeah, I think if you're a team like I think it was the 77 or 78 Yankees, where they were just kind of a mess, they were extremely talented but kind of directionless, and then Thurman Munson was killed, and that seemed to kind of galvanize them. It can work like that, but if you're not good to begin with, then no, I don't see something like this making the difference, because it's not going to make a 220 hitter hit 280 all of a sudden. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But what happened with him anyway? Did we ever hear?
They did an autopsy, but the report won't be available until October.
Oh, okay.
So they ruled out foul play. They ruled out suicide. So it's either some sort of weird heart condition,
okay, or
drugs, and it's you don't know.
I bet you opiates are involved.
Which sucks. Yeah.
And finally, to wrap up the 5th annual Basically a Sports Show Ask Us Anything episode, I think the perfect question: what's the most Brandiose-esque mascot you'd allow for Bass?
Oh, jeez.
Well, don't we have him at TV Tebow or something?
Yeah, wouldn't it have to be like a grinning television set with a baseball bat?
Angry TV set with something. I don't know what. I would say something, it would have to be no more Brandiose-esque than the Spokane Indians logo. Anything along those lines I'd be okay with. Anything after that, no. That's where I would draw the line.
I feel like if we're going to do a Brandiose-like logo, it needs to be full-on Brandiose, so I would totally support the the angry TV with a baseball bat identity.
And Adam, feel free. Bang one out. You can do it. You can
would we change our name to like the Basically Sports Shows?
Yeah.
Or I don't know. We'd have to think of something stupid and witty, overly witty.
You come up with a logo, and we'll come up with like the alternate name, and every once in a while we'll do an alternate show with that logo and that name and all that. So and we'll see how it goes. That work for you guys?
Yeah, sure. Let's make it happen.
All righty, and with that, we're done, guys. Another episode of Ask Us Anything is in the books. Once again, folks, thanks for all the questions. They were great. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube. Thanks for listening, and we will be back next week with a regularly scheduled episode of Basically a Sports Show.
Later.
Sure you want your one question to be that stupid?
Due to the length of earlier programming on Coin Local 6, we now join the following program already in progress.